Wasim. Welcome back to my channel Wagon Picks. Hope you are all doing great. We are into the sixth tutorial of a JavaScript series, and the topic of this tutorial is functions. So, functions is one of the most important topic in any programming language. So, without functions, you will not be able to do major tasks. So, you need to go through this. We'll be going through some additional complicated functional declarations, so be with me till the end of this tutorial. Points which we'll be covering in this tutorial are introduction to functions. So we'll see how to what are functions and why we use functions. Second point which we'll go through is function declaration and syntax. So we will look how we can declare and what are the syntax for functions. And third point we will go through is parameters and arguments. So values which we are passing, the operations which we are doing, with the things which we are getting returned from the function, we'll go through it. Fourth is return statement, that is the return value which we are receiving from the function. And last point which we'll be looking at is function as first class citizen. So the last point, the fifth point is important point. You might be knowing basic functions, but in JavaScript we will be using functions in many different ways. So last point is very special point. I'm not saying it is as a complicated topic, but I just want you to be with me till the end of this topic. Okay, so to start with, I already have base code ready with me. Okay, so I have written dummy content, and the dummy content is getting reflected over here. So what I will do is I will start with my scripting tag. So what we are doing here is we have written an HTML code, base code. We have defined head and we have defined the body. Inside the body, we have defined this script tag. And in this script tag, we will be writing our JavaScript code. For those who are not aware of these tags, I would request you to go through my previous tutorials. This is the series. We are in the sixth uh, tutorial of the series. I want you to go through the earlier topics where we have discussed all these things. Okay, so in this, to explain you about the functions, basic functions. What are functions? Okay, the function is a named block of code that performs a specific task or set of tasks. So I would explain you with an example. Like if you have you want to write some letters. Okay, so you have a specific content and you have to write the same content on 10 letters. Okay, and you have to distribute to some 10 people. Okay, so what you will do, you will take 10 papers. Okay, and would you write the same content on every page and distribute it to the people, or you will write on single page and print that page 9 times and distribute the all the 10 copies to 10 people. That is how the printing of the content on other papers reduces your efforts. So similarly, function in programming, what this does is we will write a set of code once, and whenever we need the same set of code, we just call that. We just we as we printed the content on the other paper, we'll do the same thing. We'll print that we'll call that function and we'll take the return values. Okay, so let us go ahead and check the syntax. Okay, so the syntax is uh, we need to write function uh, add value x. Okay, let us take a simple example which print something. We are in function. Okay, so this is how a function is written. Okay, this is the syntax which we follow to write a function, and this is the name of this function, and we have written this console inside this function. Okay, and we have just written this function, we have not called this. So you have created a first copy of your content, okay, but you need multiple copies, so you need to call this function. So how will I call it? I will just call it as add value. Okay, this is how I call it. So this is the function, and you are calling it from line number 12. Okay, so let us see what how this will work. Okay, sorry, where I am. So we are into console. Okay, console. See here, we are in function. So what happened when I refresh the page? This went through the code, and here we had this function written, and when we called this function, so whatever was in the function got executed. So second, let us print a second line over here. Function. Okay, we are in second line of function. So once I refresh, so the second line will be printed. So this is how a function is called, and the tasks inside the function are executed. Now let us do one thing. What if I want to perform certain task inside this function? So let us assume that we want to add two values. Okay, so what are the values? Let us take the values as 2 and 6. So these are the two values which we need to add, okay, every time when we call this function. So what I will take this, I will take these parameters. Okay, I will remove this, and let us define a variable. Let that, okay, z equal to x plus y. So what we are doing is, we have defined a variable named z, and we are storing the addition of x plus and y in z. Okay, and finally we are printing that value. Okay, so what we did here was, we are calling this function by passing some arguments. Okay, these are called as arguments. So you want to perform certain operations with these values. Okay, so the values which we are passing, okay, are called arguments, and the value which are received are parameters. Okay, so x and y are the parameters, and on this we will be doing operation. So inside the function, what I did was, I declared a variable named z, and in z I'm storing the addition of x and y. I hope this is visible. I will zoom it a little bit. So what we are doing is, we are storing the addition of x and y in z, and finally we are printing z. So uh, you might be asking the question, like, why we have declared this as x and y? We could have taken directly 2 and 6 over here, and we could have added. Yes, you can do that, but remember that function can be used for multiple purpose. Okay, in this you are passing 2 and 6. So what if you want to pass a value which has 10 and 20? Okay, so now in this case you are passing different values as arguments. Okay, and when the program is at this line, we will be calling this function with 2 and 6 as arguments, and when it comes to second line, it is calling add value with 10 and 20 as arguments. Okay, so what we will do, we will quickly go and check our console. So what happened here was, in first case 2 and 6 were the arguments, and this got added, and this was printed. And when the function was uh, executed, we come to the second line, and in second line we are passing the arguments as 10 and 20, and 10 and 20 we are adding and we are printing that. So 10 and 20 is 30. So points to remember: these are the arguments which are being passed, and these are the parameters which we are receiving. Okay, so till this point we are clear. Okay, if you have any questions, do let me know in my comment box. I will definitely come up with the answers. Okay, so next point, what we wanted to see was return statement. Okay, so return statement is something which is used when you want to use this value. Okay, whatever value we printed, you if you want to use it further to perform certain other tasks, so in that case we will use a return value. So to catch the return value, we need to assign this to a variable. Okay, so I will define a const. We have seen this const and let. We will be using two variables. Const, let us name this as val. Okay, so what we are doing is, we are not printing this, we are returning z. We remove this. Okay, and we'll print this value here. Okay. What we are doing here is, we have our function over here, and we are calling that function with these arguments 2 and 6, and these 2 and 6 arguments will be passed and to add value and taken as parameters, and in this we are adding that and returning the value, added value back to the function. So the whatever the value is returning, it will be stored in val. Okay, so we are printing that val. Let's quickly check. Console is not a function. Console.log. So we printed 8. Okay, so what we did, we passed 2 and 6. 6 plus 2, 8. We returned 8, and the value 8 was printed over here. So basically return is used if you want to perform certain other task. So if suppose that you want to divide the return value by 2 again. Okay, you don't want to perform that task in the function, you want to perform that task individually after the call. So what we do, val, I will not take val, I don't want to confuse you. Digit, we'll take this at digit, and let us divide this by 2. Now let's print digit. So we got 4. So what happened, we just called this function returned 8. The 8 was stored in val, and we divided the val, whatever value we are getting, by 2, and we printed that divided value, the result value, uh, in console. So this is how we return some values. Point to note is, you can also pass an array or an object or an entire function in the return statement. Okay, so we will look into it later on in next tutorials. Next topic is function as a first class citizen. Okay, so in JavaScript, functions are considered as first class citizen. What do I mean by that? So we can perform many things with functions. So the first is assign to variables. So in this, what we are doing is, we are assigning a function, entire function, to a variable. So let us quickly check that. I will remove this. Okay, let us keep this. Let us quickly print console. Okay, Z. So to let you know that we can also directly print these values. Okay, no need to define the variables. You can directly add and print the in console. What I am doing is what was our topic? Our topic was assigned to a variables. Okay, so we are assigning this entire function to a variable. So let us take that constant my function. So what we did was we assigned the this function to a variable. So in this we are not passing any arguments and parameters. So let me, we are in function. Okay, and I'm just calling this function. So in this what we are doing is we are just calling this function my function. Okay, so what we did, we defined some console value, and we defined this function to a variable, and we are just calling this variable. So in this what happens was we are in function. Okay, and the second point is passed as arguments to other functions. So what you can do is we can pass a function as an argument to other function. Okay, so here we have this function. They'll remove this. Okay, now what we are doing is we will define one more function check value. Okay, and in this what we are doing, we are calling this function. Okay, and we are passing this function as an argument, and in this, and we are receiving this received function, and we are just using this function inside this function. So let me quickly check how this is working. Okay, we are in function. So what exactly happened, see here we have two functions. The first function is here and second function is here, and the main content is in add value function. Okay, and we are calling this function. Okay, but what we are doing is we are passing this function as an argument to this function and received as parameter to this function. So whatever is written in this function, this entire function is sent to this function, and this function is executed. Okay, so just the simple thing is we are passing a function to another function. Okay, so this was the second point, return from other functions. So what return from other function does is we can return an entire function as a return value. So let me remove this, and we are in function. I am return I'm returning a function So what we are doing, we are calling this function, okay, and in this function we are printing, we are in function, and in return we are passing this entire function, okay, the entire function. This function can contain multiple lines. Currently I have written only one line, so whatever the function we are returning will be returned and stored in this val constant, okay, and finally we are printing this. So what is the expected output? First we should get this statement, and then whatever we are returning. Oops, we did some mistakes. So what was the mistake? So the mistake is we are storing the return value in val, and we don't even need to print this, okay. This is already a function, we just need to call this, right? So see here, we are in function, and second is we are in return function. So what we did, we are calling this function, and when we call, the first line which gets executed is we are in function, and we are passing this entire function as a return value, and this function has this line, console line, to be printed. So this console line will be assigned to this val, and when we call this val, the console line will be printed. So this will be the first line, and this will be the second line. So that is what we got. This is all about the return from other functions. Stored in data structure is again very important topic. uh, this concept is to store a function in the form of arrays. So I don't think we should go with this topic now, because we have not covered arrays yet. So we'll cover the arrays, and in the same tutorial we will look into this topic, stored in data structure, because this is that we are storing the functions, different functions, in an array. We will go through it in coming tutorials, okay. So this was the later part, was a little bit complicated, not much. Hope you got all the points. Let me know in my comment box if you have any questions. Thank you for watching this tutorial, and have a great day.